Welcome to Chapter 6 of your 2024 story. My name is Michelle, owner and founder of Movara Fitness Resort. I am excited this week to be addressing the power of active recovery and rest days into our physical routine. A couple weeks ago, we talked about embracing or I'm going to start over now. What did we talk about? We talked about, there we go. All right, take two. All right, welcome to Chapter 6 of your 2024 story. My name is Michelle, owner and founder of Movara Fitness Resort. I am excited this week to be talking about the power of active recovery and rest days. A couple weeks ago, we talked about building and finding a sustainable exercise routine. And last week, we talked about the power and importance of sleep. And this week, ironically, I am really needing to practice this myself of active recovery and rest days. So this is a tricky one because our bodies and our minds naturally don't want to move and struggle. Most of us, there are a few that don't, but most of us struggle with the motivation to actually move. And whenever there is a pain or an injury or a roadblock, it's very easy to be like, oh, my body's tired. I need to rest. And it's hard to know. It's hard because we don't want to be, there is that fear. And some of you may have experienced this. I'm assuming most people have experienced a time where they have pulled a muscle or they've gone through an injury and it's scary. We have that fear of like, oh, I don't want to do too much and make it worse. Now, and whenever we go to a doctor, oftentimes that doctor is more cautious and tells us, hey, you better rest, you better recover. So we're like, oh, I better not do anything. And it's frustrating because there's no better person to know than yourself. And again, it's very easy and we get nervous, we get scared of doing too much. Now, if you've ever been to the resort, 100% of the time, we have guests that experience and remember that, oh, you know what? I can actually do more than I thought. In fact, it is not uncommon for a guest to have something that has been bothering them, a knee, a hip, a hamstring, their back, and their feet. And simply by getting outside of our heads and pushing, and I don't want to say pushing through the pain, but working through the issues, they go away. Like 99.9% of the time, they go away. And we have a guest that I love. Her doctor told her that she needed knee surgery and she said, no, I'm not going to do it. And she came to the resort and avoided knee surgery by getting stronger, getting some weight off. And, again, a lot of doctors, and nothing against doctors because we need them and they're very, very smart. We need to listen to our doctors. Absolutely. But they have to be cautious and help us not injure ourselves more. So there's that battle of trying to know like what's enough, what's too much. And just based off of experience of working with literally thousands, I mean, we're up to 30,000 guests that have come to the resort. I would say 99.9% of the individuals can do more. So having said that, it's tricky and hard. So just literally last night, I don't even know what it was because I didn't do anything crazy in the morning. I just did my normal exercise routine and I went to work and I sat most of the day in meetings. And then I didn't do a lot physically, but I came home exhausted. I'm like, why am I physically exhausted? And I laid down. I was like, oh my goodness, it's too early to go to bed. And I don't want to just lay here because I feel so sluggish. I had no energy. And I had to ask myself, okay, is my body telling me something or is my brain and my mind telling me something? Because 100% of the time, I don't have the energy. I'm tired. And anytime I feel like that. I'm like, oh, the answer for me is movement. The answer is I've got to get up and somehow get myself either out the door, um, or find something, some motivation to get moving. So I did. I got up, I went on a walk, and sure enough, I felt 100% better. I wasn't tired and I had energy. Now, I didn't go for a fast walk. I didn't even put my exercise clothes on. I literally just went outside, got some fresh air, and moved my body. And so that is frustrating when it's like, okay, I'm so physically exhausted. Do I need rest or do I need movement? Now, having said that, I have also dealt with pulled hamstrings, knee issues, hip issues, feet issues. Right now, I'm currently dealing with a lower back issue. It's nothing crazy, but I can feel it. It bothers me. And it's like, okay, well, what do I do? Do I rest? Do I not do anything? And, one of the steps that we're going to go over is listening to your body. And it's hard because it's like, well, my body is telling me it's tired and it hurts. And so, we, I do because of experience. I know the difference between like muscle soreness and actual pain. And here's my overall answer. And I'm going to give you 4 different things to just focus on for the active recovery and rest days. But ultimately, we can adapt. That is my suggestion and my advice when it comes to active recovery and rest days. And again, I'll talk about a few other things, but learning to adapt. So, if I can't do one thing, I can always do something else. This is 100% of the time. So, I may not be able to do incline, but I can do flat. I may not be able to do the treadmill, but I can do the bike. I may not be able to do the bike, but I can swim. I may not be able to do upper body, but I still have my legs. I may not be able to, do a certain exercise, but I can do something else. So adapting is really the hardest thing because most of us I'm either going to do all of it or nothing. I just actually had a guest email me and say, I'm contemplating coming. Here's my issues. What do you think? Should I still come? And my answer was like, yeah, absolutely. You can still do the meals. You can still go to the lecture. You can still do some things. So you may not be able to do everything that you used to be able to do, but there's a lot of other things that you can do. So oftentimes we really limit ourselves of what we can do because of what we can't do. And I have had a very, humbling experiences where we've had guests come and literally break a leg on day one and stay and still do what they can do. And it's so inspiring. It's so motivating to see individuals who are extremely limited, but still find there's always something they can do. So again, this week, when we talk about the power of active recovery and rest days, and just like sleep, it can be often overlooked because we, as a society, focus on push, 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 more, more, more. The more intensity, the better. Well, if you've been to the resort, you've heard me, you've probably heard a lot of us talk about the power of consistency over intensity, because oftentimes it's like we want to push as hard as we can. We always tell guests that usually most of the injuries come on day one when guests are just feeling like they're the hero and they have to go, back to their days of, um, you know, being in their best shape ever and going that high intensity. Well, we want to be really, really careful. It's tricky because we want to be careful, but at the same time, we can all do more than we think we can do. So there's a fine balance. But true strength and progress really does come from understanding when to pause, maybe when to slow the intensity, when to rest, and when to recover. So my rule of thumb is I personally, now I know there are a lot of personalities who do love like goals, expectations. They want to see their time, they want to see their distance, they want to see their heart rate. For me personally, I have no expectations. I have learned over the years, I'll try and hype myself up and say, okay, I'm going to, jog my full route without stopping, or I'm going to try and beat my stop sign time. And, sometimes I do, but usually it's because my only expectation is I'm going to get out the door and I'm going to start walking and I'm going to get moving and I'm going to turn some music on. And you know what? Hey, if I feel good, I'm going to jog a little bit. And if I keep feeling good, I'm going to jog a little bit more and I might go a little bit faster and I might go a little bit further. And usually that happens after I've just warmed up without any expectation at all. Or for me and for a lot of other people that I've worked with over the years, being around a lot of other people or in a group environment or with a personal trainer, it's easier to push ourselves a little bit more than we would on our own. And sometimes we need that. So, and also, um, being around that and other people and a trainer can help us know when to push and when to hold back. So, the significance of active recovery and rest days, really looking and viewing those as not as setbacks, but truly as vital steps towards our health journey or part of our health journey. I love this quote, or really when we do our journal prompt this week, we want to reflect on, ask ourselves, how do I currently integrate rest and active recovery into my fitness routine? And have I noticed a difference in my performance or well being when I do prioritize recovery? So, for me personally, I like this week when I may feel more tired than others. I just say, you know what? I don't have to go fast. I'm just going to do something and I'm going to walk. I'm going to give myself permission to go slower or not go all out. I guess for me, the question really is, it's not a matter of do I stop doing something? It's a matter of, if I can't do this one thing at this intensity, I can still do something else. So the rest and the recovery is not necessarily an all or nothing. For me, my recovery might be yoga one day. It might be Pilates one day. It might be walking instead of jogging. It might be strength training instead of going outside. It might be my treadmill on an incline with a low speed instead of outside. There's that's to me the recovering from one thing but not all things. So, and there are days where my exercise will be literally just stretching and yoga or Pilates. And that is where my body can rest, recover. Last week, we talked about the importance of sleep. And that's really when our muscles that's when they rebuild, that's when they recover. So active recovery involves engaging in low intensity exercise. So that's really the point I want to make, recovery is not nothing. Recovery is low intensity exercise after periods of intense workouts. It's designed to allow your body to recover while still staying active. So it's not a matter of, I don't do anything, I still stay active. So again, like yoga, walking, a leisure bike ride, the goal is to improve circulation, reduce muscle soreness, and enhance overall recovery without adding stress to the body. So when guests come to the resort, I always I joke and say, we break every rule here because you're lifting weights all day long and you're working out all day long and there's, very little recovery. So if you've ever studied weight training or if you've worked with a personal trainer, you've probably heard before that it's important to let those muscles recover at least a day in between. Now, that's when you're doing really heavy, intense weightlifting where the muscle fibers are literally torn and they need 24 hours to recover. If you're doing lightweight, light moderate activity where you're doing multiple repetitions, there will be minimal tearing of the muscle fibers. They still need the relaxation. That's why a lot of our guests do active stretching. They'll get massages. They'll do steam, sauna, bath. Again, the rest at night and the stretching is a big, important help to get through those. So again, it's not doing anything. It's lighter recovery. So, the essential role of rest days are crucial for muscle repair. Now, this is the other thing that I think is really vital, even more so than having the muscles or rebuild. It's the psychological well being. So, preventing burnout. So, to me, that's actually probably even one of the things that I see more often than even the physical things of exercise is the mental, emotional burnt out. Our bodies and we as human beings need variety. And if we're doing the same thing and we are getting bored of it, we're going to need to switch it up. We're going to need to take a rest. We're going to maybe even need to get out of our city or our state and go on a vacation so our body can actually get out of its rut and avoid burnout, because burnout is probably the thing that I see happen more than anything. So it's a time when your body heals, adapts, and strengthens. Embracing rest days is embracing the understanding that growth occurs not just through activity, but through rest. So we all want to grow, we want to improve, we want to reach our goals, but it's not just the doing, it's the not doing of some of those things that will help get us there. So, just to um, wrap up, we're going to just talk about 4 simple things, strategies to incorporate active recovery and rest days. The first, I mentioned listening to our body. So, we want to be again careful about this, but when we have soreness or fatigue or prolonged recovery times, it may indicate the need for more rest and activity days. So, just last week, I was doing an activity where the front of my shins, like there was a sharp pain, and I immediately slowed down. I was like, oh man, I do not want this to get something big. So I was curious and nervous for the next day, but because I stretched and because I listened to my body, I didn't overdo it. I didn't push it. The next day I was fine. And that oftentimes can happen when we are exercising. It's the pushing through and not listening to your body of like, hey, something is there's a pain for a reason. We want to pay attention to that. And if your body's not healing, then that's going to be a sign of the need to, again. So when I say recover, it's not, and when I say rest, it's rest from the thing that's hurting and doing something else instead. That's lower intensity, it's moderate. Um, that's going to help you. So, one of the things that can help is actually planning this into your week. One thing that I struggle with is it's hard for me to actually plan, like, hey, Wednesday I'm going to rest, because actually Wednesday might be the day that I feel amazing. So, I try to just plan um, in my head and allowing. Oftentimes, when you give your body permission, um, your body's going to know when it needs it. So, intentionally scheduling some recovery days. Maybe it's just like, hey, you know what? I'm going to allow to plan for when my body needs it. Some people actually are pretty regimented and actually have they go, Mondays intense, Tuesdays, I'm stretching, Wednesdays more strength training, Thursdays interval training, and you can do a schedule like that, which actually really is amazing if your body responds to it. The third thing is diversity in your activities, very similar to listening to your body. Your body adapts, it adjusts, but it also can overdo in a certain area. If you're not getting a variety and diversity in your activities, it can plateau. And using active recovery days to explore different activities. So, hey, I'm going to try pickleball, or I'm going to try golfing, or I'm going to try some of these different activities that I'm still moving, but I'm taking a break from something else. So that's a really great thing that you can do. The last is really focusing also on your nutrition and your hydration, because like I mentioned last week with the sleep, we talked a little bit about the nutrition and the physical activity. If we're not doing some of those fundamental things, the sleep's going to be hard to have happen. Like the rest and recovery, if our nutrition's not on and our hydration, we're not getting adequate hydration, it's going to be really hard for our muscles to repair. and our body overall to have that recovery process happen without proper nutrition and hydration. So I'm going to end with this quote: rest is not idleness. Now, again, my definition of rest is rest from the thing that's bothering you, but still doing something else. So rest is not idleness, and to lie sometimes on the grass under trees on a summer's day, listening to the murmur of the water or watching the clouds float across the sky is by no means a waste of time. I love that because it does help remind us of the beauty and the necessity of rest and recovery in the pursuit of health and fitness. It's a very important aspect to our overall wellness. Again, last week we talked about the importance of sleep. This week, I think it's important as we talk about our physical goals. And a couple weeks ago, when we talked about coming up with that sustainable routine, it's going to include sleep and it's going to include rest and recovery. But how we look at that and what that is going to be different. Using a lot of different aids like ice, or they have those muscle machines, or getting massages, or using a chiropractor that actually helps assist and aid in the recovery can be a really great tool. Taking an Epsom bath. There's different things that we can do for the rest and recovery days that's going to not just be for our physical, but our mental and our emotional well-being as well. So I'm excited again to keep talking about physical activity next week. We've got a lot of different chapters planned upcoming, and I'm really excited to keep addressing those with you. I hope as we continue with the journal prompts, these podcasts, we truly can be writing the story that we want to be living. We're going to delve into chapter 17 next week. And make sure that you're following the social media, because we have and post the journal prompts. You should be also getting emails that have all of this in there as well. So again, rest and recovery is important, and hopefully you're feeling the need. If you're feeling it more than ever, try something different. Let that body rest from what's hurting and try something else.